Hello, hello. This is MzRockMon, author and founder of the Child Support Hustle. Hope you well. Hope you are well this Thursday evening. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Uh, Today, I want to talk about paying bills when you are struggling and why a child support bill should be last on the list instead of first or in the top three. And before I get into all the details, I want to talk about why I chose to talk about this. So there's an article by Mary Hunt, and she's the founder of everydaycheapskate.com. So the title of the article, of course, is in the description, is what to do if you don't have enough money to pay all of your bills. So I want to talk about this article because people are truly delusional out here in the universe. Mrs. Hunt starts off the article by saying that it might be the skyrocketing cost of fuel and food, or perhaps you've lost your job and you've already been living paycheck to paycheck with no cushy emergency funds to fall back on. Starting off right there, I would expect advice from an everyday cheapskate to tell people how to shop with coupons, maybe look at public transportation to get around, how to stretch the shrinking dollar. That's what I would think that somebody that says that they're a cheapskate, I would think that that's what they would tell people on a public platform. But no, Ms. Mary tells people who she describes as possibly scared, angry, worried, overwhelmed to figure out which bills they need to pay first. Me, myself, and probably almost everyone else who lives paycheck to paycheck without an emergency cushion to rely on. And that's a lot of people in society, especially after this COVID pandemic. And now we're into this huge inflation. I don't even know what to call it. I'm sure they want to call it a recession, but they don't want to send everybody into a panic and have to send out more money. But whatever we're in right now, it's expensive. And so she says, without that emergency cushion to rely on, or I say I would pay food, housing, utilities, and transportation so I can get my paycheck that I would need to pay for my necessities. Those would be my top four. But Mary Hunt, the everyday cheapskate, is advising her readers and supporters to follow the basic rule of thumb, which, according to the Boston based National Consumer Law Center, is to always pay essential expenses first. Now, anytime I see law, lawyers, things like that, I'm going to be leery anyway because lawyers, I, there's some good. I ain't dissing all the lawyers, y'all know that. But I'm gonna be leery about what they're going to say is essential. And the top three on the list of essentials, according to the Everyday Cheapskate, are basic food, unavoidable medications, and child support. I'm like, what? Down on the list after health insurance are rent and mortgage, utilities, and car payments. It's completely reckless to tell people to pay child support before they pay for housing. And it's a horrible shame that people would be forced to make a choice between medications that could save their life or paying child support that can keep them out of jail or keep them with their license or anything, any decision. But you have to choose between your medication and a child support bill. If she was going to list child support before the basic needs of housing, a responsible person with people looking at them to tell them how to save money or whatever, would have added ways to ensure that the child support amount was set at an affordable, the child support order was set at an affordable amount by the agency. Because if you're going to say that, you should say other things to let your readers know what they can do. But since she didn't do that, I will provide some information for people who cannot afford their basic necessities and have to pay child support that they cannot afford to pay. In 2016, the federal government issued a rule entitled The Flexibility, Efficiency, and Modernization of Child Support Enforcement Programs. First, when establishing child support orders, the agency must base the order on the non-custodial parent's earnings, incomes, and other evidence of ability to pay. This is based on 45 CFR Statute 302.56. And of course, as always, the links to the information that I'm sharing is going to be in the description. So based on this statute, the agency must take into consideration when they are establishing a child support order or modifying the basic subsistence needs of the non-custodial parent who has a limited ability to pay by incorporating a low income adjustment, such as a self-support reserve. Number two, if imputed income is authorized, the agency must consider the specific circumstances of the non-custodial parent, including but not limited to. So this is a list. So they have to consider all of these circumstances when they set this order. They have to look at assets. They have to look at residence, employment job histories, employment history, job skills, educational attainment, literacy, age, health, criminal record, and other employment barriers, record of seeking work, local job market, availability of employers willing to hire the non-custodial parent. They have to look at this stuff. Prevailing earnings level in the local community, and other relevant background factors in the case. They have to look at all of this stuff when they're setting a child support order and when they are modifying a child support order. They can't just impute income for a child support order like they used to 30 years ago. And just because the judge felt like that's what you were supposed to pay or that's what you were supposed to be earning, that is what they were going to set the child support order at. They can't do that anymore. States must also provide that incarceration may not be related as voluntary unemployment in establishing or modifying orders. I did a video about that. They cannot consider incarceration as voluntary unemployment. There's a whole list of things they have to do if a parent is incarcerated for 180 days or more. That as far as a downward modification, so they are not bogged down with all this child support debt once they're released. But they don't tell people that. This cheapskate lady, she's just saying, oh, make sure you pay your child support before you pay for a roof over your head. That shit don't make any sense. The orders must be based on specific, descriptive, and numeric criteria as a result in a computation of child support obligation. In cases where the order has already been established, parents have a right to file for a downward modification if they cannot afford the payments. Now, traditionally, and it probably still goes on, these modifications take forever. Like sometimes I've heard that a parent has filed for a modification. It's taken years to even get it in front of an authority figure to approve it or not approve it. So that's a problem because in the meantime, the payments are still stacking up. And because of the Bradley Amendment, they won't erase that debt. So that's a whole different issue. I've spoken about the Bradley Amendment extensively. We need to repeal the Bradley Amendment. So I have a video on my YouTube channel. So go and check it out. If you're not familiar with the Bradley Amendment, you need to get familiar with the Bradley Amendment. It's very, very damaging to non-custodial parents. I mean, it's really a bad bill, and it needs to be repealed. Um, so you can apply for a downward modification if your bills are too high and you can't afford to pay. You don't, and you can't get your medicine, and you have to line up. I'm laughing, not that this is funny, but that this lady who probably never went through any kind of struggle is saying, oh, you know, one, two, three, the third one after your medication that you need that might save your life, then pay your child support. Shit, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna make sure a roof is over my head. But as someone pointed out, you might go to jail if you don't pay this child support. That's a problem. But I'll get into that. All of this information can be found at the Federal Register, and I will, of course, put the information in the description on this video. States must provide that there will be a rebuttable presumption in any judicial or administrative proceeding for the establishment and modification of any order guaranteeing that the amount is correct based on the guidelines when it's ordered or modified. They have to ensure that that amount matches what that parent can afford to pay. When the states review their guidelines every 4 years, they have to review them. They must consider certain information in their state. Some of the information included are the labor market data, including employment and unemployment rates, hours worked, earnings by occupation and skill level. These are things that they're supposed to be looking at. But of course, because child support agencies and all the overseers have no overseers, they have nobody that is going in, holding these people accountable to make sure that they are doing what the guidelines say, not the laws, the guidelines. They're not even following the basic guidelines for this agency. And then they go in and run amok on people's lives and nobody says shit. So that's why it's important that you educate yourself if you're going through the child support system so that you can advocate for you when they do stuff like what they're doing to people, as in you can't afford to pay your basic necessities, your basic bills, and they're still coming down on you, and they're not modifying your child support order when you put the request in. So these agencies have to look at the local job markets. They have to look at the impact on guideline policies, amounts on custodial and non-custodial parents who have family incomes below 200% of the federal poverty level, and factors that influence employment rates and amounts non-custodial parents in compliance with child support orders. They have to look at so much information before they can determine a child support amount. It's not like it was 30 years ago, because people start making noise and saying this shit is unconstitutional. What you're doing, you cannot do. So some improvements have been made in how they operate, but it's too little, too late. So it's best now that we keep the pressure on, and like I said, educate ourselves about these policies and how we can, or you can, protect yourself when you can't afford to pay this child support, especially in times of struggle. According to the Cornell Law School, states must provide a meaningful opportunity for public input, including input from low-income custodial parents and non-custodial parents and their representatives. That happens every 4 years. They hold like a public forum, whether it's online. Sometimes they'll have you come in, but they are supposed to hold that and get your input. But you don't have to wait until the 4 years comes around to voice your opinion and provide your input about this system. You have public officials that we elect that are supposed to handle the people's business. So if you have a complaint about this system, then file your complaint. You don't have to ask permission and all this kind of stuff to tell them what they're doing is wrong, and knowing these guidelines and say, well, in the Federal Register 302.56, it says that you have to go by my financial means before you can set an order. Know that stuff and point it out to them and make them modify your shit. So, but wait a minute. Okay. Especially during a time like this with rising inflation and homelessness and with the non-custodial parents living paycheck to paycheck. People need to call the representatives and demand the child support payments be canceled during this difficult time. I'm an advocate for canceling child support payments, especially when we're in times like this and people can't afford to pay the child support. I made a video right when COVID hit and called for the cancellation of child support payments. People were saying, why would, the kids still got to eat? I got a video on here of a lawyer out of Michigan, I think she is, and she's, why I still got to pay or something like that. She said the kids still got to eat, but she's, cussing and shit. But yeah, the kids have to eat, but the kids, there's programs for custodial parents. We pay taxes to make sure that kids don't go hungry. We provide food stamps and we provide safety net programs so that kids don't go hungry. So yeah, you could cancel child support payments while the custodial or the non-custodial parent is unable to pay the child support extortion. You could do that, and I'm gonna get into that too. There are people who say I'm jumping ahead of myself. What I'm trying to do, and I'm gonna see how good I am at, because like I said, I want to make videos more consistently. And so I want to like have my notes, but I still want to be able to just talk and interact and get in the comments and still be able to flow. That's my goal. And so I'm not just reading and then going to the comments. I want to be able to interact, but that's going to take some practice. So I hope y'all can bear with me. I'm going to go to the comments now because there are two. Oh, well, good. Don't pay it. That's my thing. Like, no, I ain't paying nothing. Your credit report now. Yeah, it's on your credit report. Like they do everything damaging. They damage a person's whole livelihood, and that's why we have to stop the whole thing. But it's going to take more than a few people. You see what I'm saying? Like in my experience, people like to complain on social media a lot, but nobody wants to go out there and put their boots on the ground when it comes to protesting and all that kind of stuff. So until there's a collective movement where people come together and really go out there and make this serious, take this serious, and not just complain. I'm not talking about anybody in the chat, and I'm not saying anything personal. Of course, I don't know everybody, but I'm just saying since I've been advocating for this, we've had town halls, we've held protests, we've done all the legwork. I've had rallies, all that kind of stuff across the nation, and people are very hesitant to show up, and I get it. You might be hesitant because 50 might be there running warrants or whatever. But at the same time, sometimes you got to go all in when you are fighting against the machine. You got to be willing to put it all on the table for certain causes. And this is one of those causes because what they're doing is wrong. Yeah, that's all they do is take people's money. That's it, because there's no accountability. The overseers don't have overseers because it's their scam. It's a hustle. It's a whole scam. So about the people that's going to say, well, the kids still got to eat. The kids. I'm gonna get into this. The kids, yes, they do need a roof over their head. They need food in their stomach, and they need clothes on their back. But I also say that we pay our taxes. And I say this all the time. When they did the welfare reform and they did the child support reform or whatever, when they set it up so they could rob everybody for child support and claim it's for kids, um, they didn't stop us from paying taxes. They still we still pay the same taxes, if not more, for social programs. That has not changed. So they still get money for these safety net programs. They just don't give it to the people. Where does the money go, you ask? So we pay our taxes, and every jurisdiction in the United States receives $16.5 billion annually. That includes DC. Um, and it's a temporary assistance for needy families, or TANF. So if you hear me say TANF, I don't usually say spell it out, but that's what it is, TANF, or ADC, ADFC, AFDC, welfare, cash benefits. So they still, everybody gets 16.5 billion a year. So, according to the Center of Budget and Policy Priorities, or CBPP, they got a bunch of information on their website. If you ever want to know just some straight stats about how this money spent, and just they have some great stats. I don't know if I put their link in there. I'm gonna add it later. So, according to CBPP, in 2020, states spent only about 1/5 of the funds on basic assistance to meet essential needs for families with children. So they don't, not only do they not care about the essential needs of the non-custodial parent, these states and politicians don't care about the essential needs of the kids. And you guys know about the pass through. I've talked about it a lot. When they have to sign over their rights, the custodial parent, to get TANF or food stamps or Medicaid, these states, more than half, won't even pass through a penny of this money of the child support received to the family. But we're supposed to believe that this is child support. Cut the games. Cut the bullshit. So they don't even meet the essential needs of the kids. And the states can save the money. This is another thing. They could save the money they don't spend on these poor children. And they can, according to CBPP, divert the funds away from the income support for families and towards other state budget areas, often unrelated to TANF goals. They can spend that money any way they want to, and they can save it. So instead of taking care of the children like they could, they keep it, save it, and don't spend it on the kids. But then they want dad or the non-custodial parent to be homeless, hungry, without any transportation, everything bad credit, with a warrant, all that kind of stuff, because they want their money. Instead of canceling child support while that parent gets back on their feet during a pandemic and high inflation and everything that everybody else is going through. It's like the non-custodial parent ain't going through shit while everybody else is going through high gas prices, high food prices, everything that everybody going through. The non-custodial parent somehow is untouchable. So I'm gonna give you an example of how much these states have saved over the years and how little they have spent on the children in their states. Here's a couple everyday cheapskates that are really frugal when it comes to spending on their low-income citizens. Ohio, that's my state. I'm out of Columbus, Ohio. That's how I got started with this child support hustle and all that kind of stuff. I got videos, and if I got a Forbes article that was written when I was interviewed. So that's, I don't know if you can get on my website. My website is thechildsupporthustle.com. There's a ton of information there. But if you ever want to know how I got involved in all of this, you can go to childsupporthustle.com. I have videos on here where I was interviewed and find out everything. So, but Ohio has managed to save 583 million as of 2020. $583 million, y'all. They only spent 200,000 on pre-K and Head Start, and they spent zero on tax credits. And we know that tax credits help low-income custodial parents. That's been proven. It's been proven. That's all they've been talking about when they were trying to make those tax credits permanent in this Build Back Better bill. And Manchin did the thumbs down. He did a thumbs down like John McCain did back on I forget what bill it was that former President Trump was trying to pass, and McCain gave him the thumbs down. That's what Manchin did on the Build Back Better for the tax credits. He gave him the thumbs down. So we know that those tax credits helped a lot of families, and so they've been trying to make them permanent. But Ohio didn't pay zero, but they have $583 million in their coffers. Texas, with this state's cheapskate ass, has hoarded $268 million up to 2020, but has spent $0 on child care and tax credits, and a mere $2 million on work support and supportive services for parents. Now, everybody that with the welfare state, everybody want to talk about the welfare state and things like that. Why won't the state spend more money to help parents get to work? Why? Because why not? When you can go to the non-custodial parent and extort money out of them. When you can go put them in jail and get money for housing, you can get money for while they go to work. You can charge them, get free labor. Y'all remember I did the video about the fathers or the parents up there in New Jersey. They sued because they was working at some filthy trash recycling place. They was getting paid nothing. The state was, the jail was paying them peanuts, and then the recycling place was getting free labor. It was a mess, but they lost, and they was in there for child support. So everybody's getting paid except for the kids. Everybody's getting paid. So Tennessee, they saved $790 million. I also did a video about Tennessee with they cheapskate money hoarding asses. I'll put the link. I think I put the link to that one in the description. In 2020, they spent $0 on child welfare, $0 on tax credits, and only $1 million. Now they got 790. That's like $800 million. They only spent $1 million on work supports and supportive services. So yeah, they can cancel child support payments for parents that can't make the payments because of the struggling that everybody is going through during the pandemic and the inflation and everything else that everybody is going through, because they have the money, because we keep paying the taxes. But not only do these cheap ass states have a lot of money on their reserves, they have a return that's pretty decent money. Now they have these states, every one of them have a return on investment for every dollar that they spend. They get a profit back. So Ohio, aka Buckeye City, they received $6.65 for every buck that they invested. This is all 2020. 2021 going to be out of control because they stole all that stimulus money, all that income tax money. They stole all that from non-custodial parents for child support debt. So like Texas broke records. I think Tennessee broke, like they broke records across the country because people were getting that money and the states were taking it. It was offsetting all that money. So 2021, y'all watch those numbers. Y'all know I'll do a video. I'll do a video about it. So Ohio, $6.65. Tennessee, not to be slept on, saw a return of $7.91 for every dollar it spent extorting parents for their hard-earned money. Now we see that they are joining other states trying to make drunk drivers pay child support for the children of their victims. That's more return on investment. But they're talking about child support, but they're not talking about making the killers put money away for a college fund. They're not talking about anything that's going to be a long-term benefit, financial benefit to these children. They're talking about child support. Why? Because they get more money from child support. The states get incentive money. The states get this return on investment. They get all kinds of money on the child support money. They're not going to get any money if they make that the drunk driver start a college fund or anything like that, pay for a private school or pay for, they're not going to get no money. So they go straight to the child support. So pay attention. So Texas, now we get to the double digits. In 2020, the Lone Star State received $13.57 in return for its dollar. They say everything is bigger in Texas, and the child support hustle is no exception. They are robbing people left and right and calling it child support down here in Texas. I myself cannot even believe that this stuff is still going on how they extort, rob, everything they do with this child support system. And people are still, I'm not saying not doing anything, but are allowing them to continue operating the way they operate. And one example on how we can get change is voting the people that's in there, vote them out. I've talked to a lot of politicians. A bill that I wrote about concerning debtor prisons. I talk about this all the time. The bill they liked down here in Texas, but they didn't want to piss off their female constituency. But I'm, one person. Well, I'm single, solo, dolo. I had a team, but we still were a small number. So that makes me think like, who's really, for child support reform? It's easy to say that you are, but then you got to look at the underlying factors that are going on. And I made a video. I'll be making video. I'll be writing about stuff. I'm talking about all kind of shit. But a lot of people that are in this family court reform movement are not really about child support reform. They have a different agenda, but they want to build their numbers. You see what I'm saying? So you got to watch and look at the underlying plan. What are they really talking about? Because one common thing or one common theme is, I don't mind paying child support. I just want equal time with my child. Those organizations are not for child support reform. So that's another segment that's not necessarily fighting for child support reform. So that's just an example. So people like Mary Hunt, Mrs. Mary Hunt, write articles and give advice, but do not know what's going on out here in the real world when it comes to living paycheck to paycheck. They don't know what's really going on when you have to decide between paying a bill to keep a roof over your head or paying a bill that will keep your license valid and stop the government from issuing a warrant for your arrest. The child support overseers need to stop enforcing the illegal and unconstitutional punishments that accompany non-payment of child support. If a parent cannot afford to pay, they have not violated any court order. If you can't afford to pay, you are not willfully violating a child support order, and therefore you should not be held in contempt. Turner versus Rogers. That's a Supreme Court case that made that officially unconstitutional. The Federal Register says, and I quote, "The child support system is not meant to serve a punitive purpose. Rather, the system is an economic one, designed to measure the relative contribution each parent should make and is capable of making to share fairly the economic burden of child rearing," end quote. So this system is not even supposed to be punitive. It's a welfare recovery program. They want money for welfare benefits, which is not how that works. Welfare is a grant. It's a grant, it's not a loan. Welfare benefits are not and were not intended to be repaid as a loan. Child support is to recover that money. However, it was never meant to be punitive. You're not supposed to be punished because you can't pay child support. And we definitely know it's not fair. One parent pays nothing while the other parent pays but can't keep a roof over their head. How fair is that? So this definitely is not what the child support system is now, and that is definitely not by accident. If people cannot afford to pay child support, they should not have a child support order at all. So I put a link in the description to erase all government child support debt. My last count, it was 24 billion, but I have to check that. I haven't looked in a minute. But like I said, they haven't done 2021. That should drop because they offset so much, offset so many people's stimulus and income tax and stuff like that. So that amount might drop, but it all needs to disappear. It needs to go. They're out here fighting about student loan debt and why is it not being erased when student loan debt, I'm with it, you know, if they erase it, but at the same time, we sign contracts when we sign up for a student loan debt. We say we're going to repay the student loan debt, but with child support debt for low income parents, especially unmarried low income parents, and the custodial parent receives welfare benefits, that non-custodial parent didn't sign the contract. They didn't even receive the benefits. So that's not a contract. There's no repayment plan or anything like that. So that debt needs to be gone away. That's not a real debt. It's a fake debt for a system that is not even supposed to punish you if you can't repay. So my advice to people like Miss Mary Hunt's ass is to stay out of stuff that you don't know about and telling people to pay child support instead of not paying for their rent or their mortgage or their transportation or their utilities. If you don't know about these type of things, don't talk about it. And if you do need to get your child support lowered, then file for a modification. I have put that video in the description. That'll give you more information. I put the Federal Register that tells you more about the requirements that they have now as far as not being able to impute income, having to go by, the list of things that I talked about, um, local job market and stuff like that. And you can file a complaint on your local agency with the federal child support agency. Yeah, they slow to the poll. They don't want to deal with anything like this, but make them deal with it. We have to take our control back, because the government has to be about the people's business. And those people in DC are our employees. So if we have a problem with somebody on the local level that works for us, then we need to go to their boss. And if it takes going to DC, then that's what we have to do. That's what I did. Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County High, they were not helping me. And it did take a long time, but finally, yeah, I went to DC. Somebody was going to listen to me and somebody was going to fix the issue, period. And that's what everybody needs to do. You have a voice. Make your voice heard, especially if they're trying to make you pay something, or be homeless or be hungry. That's not how this operates. That's not how this goes. Just because they say that's how it goes, that does not mean that's how it goes. That's not. So that's my video. Thanks everybody who tuned in. If you have, I got some likes. Thank you. If you're watching this later, please don't forget to like and share this video. If you like my content, please subscribe and share with your people, your friends. Tell your friends to tell a friend. I'm going to be having more videos, a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'm going to talk about it. Let me see. Do I have anything? Oh, if you want to get a copy of my book, The Child Support Hustle, it's available at my website, thechild-support-hustle.com. I have some articles on there that might help you with your child support case. A ton of information. I research I enjoy researching. So it's a lot of links, just like in my book. I even have my court papers from, oh, you can't see. Oh, there's my court documents from when I got my case closed and the arrears against my daughter's dad erased. They were like $30,000. So that's all in here, along with all my oh, you guys can't see it. These lights are so bright. But I want to show you all the references. There's a ton of them. So always have references. I think that's very important. And don't take my word for anything. You should always get at least 3 different references in anything. If somebody tells you something and they say it's fact, ask for a source and then go find 3 other ones. Then verify it. So hopefully my information will be useful to you. I've worked on some, big cases in my advocacy and been very successful in making them make shit right when it was wrong. Always ask for itemized statement on arrears, because a lot of times that amount is not correct. They will charge you more because they can. And I have seen an instance where the arrears were overcharged 30 something $1,000 just from him asking for itemized statement. I've seen 10,000, like just ask for itemized statement, just period. Even if you say, oh, I owe that, just ask for it anyway. So, yeah. So I want to thank everybody. Thank y'all for supporting me. Even if y'all watching this on Facebook, thanks for your continued support. I know I'm talking about the fatherlessness crisis, hoax, hustle, whatever you want to call it. And that's what I think it is, for obvious reasons. I'm talking about it more and more because I'm writing a book about that now. So of course I got to make sure I have my references so it's tight. Let me know what you guys think about the fatherlessness. If you think it's truly an epidemic, if you think it's some bullshit like I do, let me know. I got, what is it, the on Facebook I got a bunch of like posts, and on YouTube it's the community. I got some like posts and stuff like that there. So leave a comment. I always respond to comments. If not, if I don't respond to it, I'm probably going to delete it because it's some nonsense and I don't deal with no nonsense. Okay, go ahead and email me. My email is cshustle1@gmail.com. Okay, Rizzo. I'll be looking for your information, and I'll mail it out to you as soon as I see it. So that's it. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I hope this was informative. Don't forget, pay your rent first. Don't be listening to these people that don't know, these cheapskates. And if you want to sit up here and debate, no, they need to pay their child support. The kids need to eat. No, go to your state representative and tell them to start paying more money, that your taxpayer dollars, to make sure the kids eat in your jurisdiction. Because I guarantee you they're not paying the money that they should. They're all hoarding this damn money. And I proved it. So good night, everybody. You'll have a safe night and weekend. I might be back on here before Monday. So have a good one. Fight the power.